All right. The sweet taste of success, courtesy India winning the World Cup, has translated into a sweet episode of Beyond the Plate. And it's such a coincidence because Chocolate Day is coming. And like I said, there's sweetness all around. People are on the streets waving flags. I mean, it's unbelievable that post the 2010 Mahendra Singh Dhoni 50 over World Cup victory, we haven't won a World Cup. So this has been a long time, 14 years coming. And if you look at a T20 World Cup, it's been 17 years coming because we haven't won since 2007. Chef Amrita Raichand joins me on the show. I don't know if you're a cricket fan, but even if you're not, you have to celebrate this.
So everybody becomes a cricket fan in India. And my family is such a sports buff that I was up celebrating with everyone. And like you very rightly said, today is the perfect topic to celebrate this win.
Now, you did say off the mic that you're going to disown me, and you will tell people why.
Yeah, because when I was talking about mango, you said you didn't like mango. And today I'm going to be talking about chocolate. And if you turn around and say, I don't like chocolate, our friendship is officially over.
You know what? I do not like chocolate.
Oh, my God. Okay, this is the last episode of Beyond the Plate, guys.
But white chocolate I can handle. So the reason I'm overweight is because I like Indian mithais. I like, stuff like tiramisu, which is very chocolate based, coffee based as opposed to chocolate based. And I like aerated drinks, which I just should not be having. So the sugar consumption is because of those things and not because of non-dark chocolate consumption. But listen, I am an anomaly, but I have to say I've developed a taste for white chocolate over the ages, and I don't mind some white chocolate. But it's up to you now to tell us the origins of chocolate.
I will, but let me also just tell you quickly that white chocolate is the unhealthiest of the chocolate, by the way.
I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all that I gravitate towards it.
Anyway, chocolate is, no doubt the most popular and delicious treat. And I mean, it's made with the fruit of Theobroma cacao, Rishi, which literally means food of the gods in Greek. So it's very, it's very difficult for me to, to digest the fact that somebody actually doesn't like chocolate. But, continuing from what we just spoke about, chocolate does receive a lot of bad press because of its high fat, because of its sugar content, which leads to a lot of issues that could creep up in the body. But believe it or not, Rishi, according to a lot of noteworthy researchers, including one from Johns Hopkins, from nutritionist Diane Wisdom, the antioxidants in dark chocolate, mind you, dark chocolate, not white chocolate, can actually help in lowering blood pressure. It can reduce blood clotting. It can be anti-aging. It can prevent it. It can help with cholesterol issues. It can actually prevent cognitive decline. And hold your breath. And this one will actually wake everyone up. All those people who are getting ready to take on Monday. Chocolate creates a greater high than kissing does. I mean, it literally can stimulate the brain, Rishi, and help release more endorphins, more than what kissing does. And it can also increase your heart rate. It can make it faster. That part, I don't know if it's good or not, but I think the high is good. What do you think?
I think the people are now going to go on to a chocolate ordering frenzy.
No. Here's the catch. You have to be very, very careful of the chocolate you eat or cook with, because the one that is good for you has to have high cocoa content. So clearly, it's dark chocolate if you really want to enjoy its benefits. I'll explain this a little more, in detail later. But now that I have everyone's attention, I do want to touch upon the history of chocolate. And it's fascinating, Rishi, how the past of chocolate actually dates back over 4,000 years. The ancient Mesoamericans, including Olmec, Maya, Aztec civilizations, were the first to cultivate cacao plants. They made a bitter drink called choclate, which was, mixed with spices and usually used at ceremonial, auspicious occasions. So, in a way, hot chocolate actually came much before chocolate did. In fact, those days, through much evidence found by historians, the cacao bean was valued so much, Rishi, that it was used as currency. Like how we later had gold and, of course, eventually money, but cacao bean was currency. Now, when chocolate came into Europe, it was a luxury that only the rich could afford. But in 1828, this Dutch chemist, Conrad van Houten, discovered a way to treat cacao beans with alkaline salts to make a powdered chocolate that was easier to mix with water. Now, this process, for those who are into cooking and baking will know, is known as Dutch processing, and the chocolate produced was called cocoa powder or Dutch cocoa. Now, he also invented cocoa press. Now, what did this do? This was the revolutionary movement in chocolate. It actually separated cocoa solids and cocoa butter, paving the way for modern bars. I'm going to be talking about this process a little more later. Now, in 1847, British chocolatier J.S. Fry and Sons created the first chocolate bar, and soon after, then we had Nestle and Hershey's and Cadbury's who followed suit and became synonymous with chocolate, each contributing to the development of various new forms and flavors. Now, Rishi, here's a very interesting list that I'm going to share with you, which has been published by National Geographic. Now, they featured a survey of the top 10 best chocolatiers. I don't know if you will know, when I went through the list, I literally realized that it was like a Willy Wonka checklist for adults filled with names one, frankly can't easily afford. Now, the one that topped the list was Tuscher from Zurich, Switzerland. And then there are others, of course, Valrhona, there's Godiva, and there are, many others that make it to this prestigious list. But,
Godiva is a personal favorite. I mean,
yes,
the family loves it. So I know that I will go to airport duty-free shopping, look for some Godiva and just pack it all in. But listen, how is chocolate actually made in the modern age? I mean, if you could break it down in broad steps, just, make it interesting. Tell me about the processing and how it ultimately comes to fruition.
Yeah, this is so interesting, Rishi. And I really thought that if you're doing an episode of chocolate, we should definitely, cover this, obviously very broadly. There's a lot of complexities that go into making chocolate, but here are the broad steps. Okay. So first things first, the process begins with the cacao tree, which produces pods containing cacao beans. Now, this actually puts, chocolate, so to speak, in the vegetable category because these pods grow on tree. Then these ripe cacao pods are harvested by hand, opened to extract the beans. These beans are then fermented for several days, which develops their flavor. Then after fermentation, they are dried. Then they are roasted to bring about their real chocolatey aroma. Now, these beans are cracked open, the shells are removed, leaving behind nibs. Here is where the actual process begins. These nibs are finely ground into a cocoa mass, which is actually called cocoa liquor, not to be, confused with alcohol, which is solid at a room temperature. Now, when this is placed under very high pressure, this paste yields two products, cocoa powder and cocoa butter. We spoke about cocoa powder earlier as well. Now, cocoa mass can simply be combined with more cocoa butter, cocoa mass, which is this cocoa liquor that I was talking about. Now, this can just be combined with more cocoa butter and sweetness to make chocolate. So the first steps are to mix, grind, and knead the various raw ingredients into a paste. Now, here the ingredients used are dependent on the type of chocolate that you will end up making. So for dark chocolate, you only need cocoa mass, which is the chocolate liqueur, cocoa butter, and very little sugar, which is why it's healthy. When you add milk solids to it, it becomes milk chocolate, and white chocolate is made only with cocoa butter. So there is no that chocolate liquor which gives it that dark color, which is why it is white. It has a sugar, of course, milk powder, which is different kind of solids, milk solids. But because it has no cocoa mass, some actually don't even consider it as chocolate. So, hey, the only chocolate you like might not just be chocolate at all, Rishi. Anyway, then comes the conching process. This chocolate liqueur is refined and smoothened out during this process where it's continuously mixed and aerated. Almost, this machine almost works like an egg beater. And finally, the chocolate is tempered to give it that nice glossy finish and a snap when you break it open. So these, are the broad steps, and each step gives it the complex flavors and textures of chocolate. Now, since we have talked about different types of chocolate, I just want to elaborate a little more on each type of chocolate because, as a chef and even those who are bakers, they will understand how different types of chocolate are used in cooking. So where white chocolate is concerned, we all know it's ivory in color. It's delicious to eat, but it's really very good for baking as well. Also for decorating, because it has this, very mild dairy flavor. It definitely adds richness to the dish, but also lets other flavors shine through. Also, storage is very important. White chocolate has a fairly small, less shelf life compared to the other chocolates. So, about 4 months is the max that you can store white chocolate safely. Now, let's come to milk chocolate. When properly stored, milk chocolate has a shelf life of about 16 months. Now, a quick GK question for you, Rishi. Why do you think it lasts longer?
Simply though, because it has alcohol in it.
No, it has no alcohol in it because it has tons of sugar in it, and sugar is a great preservative. Yeah. But it's also a great choice for when you're making a recipe, when you want little lesser chocolatey flavors. So when you're making your waffles, your pancakes, cookies, etc., milk chocolate is a great option. Finally, coming to dark chocolate, we all know how healthy it is. But here's an interesting fact. According to the FDA definition, dark chocolate must contain at least 15% chocolate liquor, but usually it contains closer to about 50%. Now, the lack of dairy and the very little sugar gives it that dark color and also a firmer texture than milk chocolate or white chocolate, which is why a well-tempered piece of dark chocolate, if you snap it, it's gonna give you a very satisfying sound, which kind of differentiates it from other chocolates.
Well, now that we've done all the serious stuff and the wannabe chefs at home know what to do with various types of chocolate and how to do it, can we have some fun chocolate facts, Amrita?
I will, and I'll tell you one more fun chocolate fact, that I at one point wanted to become a chocolatier, but I realized in India it's so tough because you have to be so, the temperatures have to be so controlled that I said for that I will have to move to France, and then I changed my mind. So some more fun facts.
Never say never to moving to France and becoming a chocolatier. Chocolat, the movie, I love it. Yeah.
I know, maybe in good time after my son goes away to university. Some very interesting facts. Switzerland has the highest per capita chocolate consumption in the world on an average. Each person eats about 9 kgs of chocolate annually. That's a lot, isn't it? Now, there are many chocolate museums around the world, including the Chocolate Museum in Cologne, Germany, and the Chocolate Story in Belgium, where you can learn about the history and production of chocolate. I don't know about you, but I've never been to a chocolate museum. Have you, Rishi?
Yes, I have. I've been to a chocolate factory as well as museum in Switzerland, and I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. This is the Lindt chocolate factory.
Right.
Absolutely gorgeous. And I came away eating so much. But even though I'm not crazy about chocolate, once you go to these factories, you can't help yourself. And they help you make it in various shapes and sizes. There's a whole chocolate making line, and you can choose your shape, and they help you to make it. It's quite spectacular, actually. And they have a life-size snowman made out of chocolate.
Wow.
Spectacular.
I need to go there. And finally, chocolate has been included in an astronaut's space food supplies due to its energy boosting properties and comforting taste. That's a sweet one.
All right, on that happy note, let's get them happier, make them hear the recipe of the week.
Rishi, many people get intimidated when they work with chocolate, and somehow, whether it's baking or cooking, I have always had this principle of simplifying recipes for people and giving them recipes which are forgiving. You have to make a recipe your own. Now, this molten lava cake is a loved, dish. I think world over people love it. My son loves it, and it's actually very easy to make, even though it seems very intimidating. Will the lava come out? How will it bake? But here's a foolproof recipe for everyone. I promise you make it and you will thank me later. So what do you need? You need some ramekins for this. You can use glass ones, you can use ceramic ones. You need good quality dark chocolate. You need some butter. I'm not giving the exact measurements because you must watch the video for this, because very, very important, very crucial to get all the measurements right. Then we use some whole eggs, and we also use some added yolks, because that really makes this creamy and more buttery. Then vanilla essence, some refined flour, and some caster sugar. And we need some extra flour and butter to just, very smartly coat these ramekins. You have to make a very fine film of the same, because you don't want your lovely cake coming out looking white because of the flour that we use to dust the ramekins. Now what will you do? First things first, you will prepare these ramekins, keep them aside. Then you're going to melt the chocolate and butter ideally in the microwave in 30 seconds a burst, because it's quick and it usually prevents a chocolate from burning. Now you will sieve the flour and the sugar together inside the chocolatey mixture, the melted chocolate. Then you will whisk in the eggs. First you will whisk them separately, then add it to this chocolate mixture carefully and turn it into a nice homogeneous mixture. Now very carefully, with the help of a ladle, you're going to pour this mixture into ramekins. Okay, and ideally I would tell you to refrigerate this for at least an hour in the fridge. And because what happens is, then when you bake it in a hot oven, it rises beautifully and it melts absolutely delightfully. The oven has to be preheated to 200 degrees when you're ready to bake. Now every oven is a little different, temperatures are a little different. So here I will always advise you to do a little trial and error before you serve it to your guests. In my case, when you use small ramekins, all you need is about 7 to 8 minutes. The bigger ramekins need about 9 to 10 minutes, but yours could be different. You take them out, you invert it on a plate, you add some powdered sugar to it, and then you take a knife and just slice gently to it, and this lava just oozes out, and oh my God, it's a heavenly feeling.
That's the recipe of the day. And now finally for Ask Amrita. Nisha and Noella both have questions on pita bread, so I'm going to combine them. Nisha asks, Amrita, what are your favorite ways to serve or use pita bread in meals? Noella says, how long can homemade pita bread last? And do you recommend freezing it, Amrita?
Sure, I'll answer them. I'm so happy they're talking about pita, because our last recipe of the week was falafel with pitas. So whoever hasn't watched it, please head to my YouTube channel, Amrita Raichand Chef and Beyond. The best part about these pitas is the fact that they're so versatile. So of course, you make the falafel and pita recipe, but you can also just, toast it a little more in the oven with some olive oil or, some spices, and you can break them up into nachos, which you can have with hummus or any dip. Then this pita, for our particular recipe, we made small ones. Same thing, you can shape them like a pizza. You can keep them large and round, and that can become your base for a delicious pizza as well. So, just pop out things from the oven, add it onto your pita base, and just bake it, and you have a lovely homemade pizza ready. Then sometimes what I also like to do is I like to have it for breakfast with my eggs, and pita and eggs combination, I have to tell you, is quite nice. So I'm glad you asked me this question. Whenever I make homemade pita, I make extra of it so that I can use it in multiple ways. Now, how do you store this, which was Noella's question? Very easy. At room temperature outside for 2 days, it will last without any problem. If you want it longer, you can keep it in an airtight container in the fridge easily for a week. Now, if you made a big quantity and you want to save it for a little longer, which I frankly don't advise, it's always nice to have fresh food. But if you must, individually pack them in parchment paper or cling wrap and freeze it. When you need to use it, take it out, thaw it, and then use it as you need it.
Fantastic. On that note, the curtain down on Beyond the Plates chocolate special episode. I'm going to see you next week, Amrita. Bye-bye.
Bye, Rishi. Happy Chocolate Day, which is coming up.
94.3 Radio 1.